because at the end of the day, I still want to be able I don't dislike George Washington. I don't dislike even some of the most racist people in history. But I want to know their history, but I also want to know not only that, hey, they were whatever, but I also want to know about the Shirley Chisholms. I also want to know about the Frederick Douglasses. And not even Nat Turner. I want to know more about Nat Turner than him just being some revolutionary. I want to know the Nat Turner that was out in the fields. I want to know the Nat Turner that grew up as a kid. I don't want to know just the narrative. Tuned in to Urban Conservative. 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 Tuned in to Urban Conservative.
Q9, my full time, hold it up and smoke it. Transgression of progression of a war we ain't asked for. Transgression of progression of a war we ain't asked for. It's madness, yo. All the things that we could talk about.
Call it.
But let's talk about these urban circumstances real quick.
And basically it's
we got this.
So,
Revolution.
Winner's frosty hand. Muhammad is the fame's name, forever stand.
Standing on royal fusing of justice for the few, ridiculed by the pale terrorists bent on genocidal obsession, rooted in fear of neglection and abandonment, fueled by nightmares of ancestors' jealousy.
Because at the end of the day, I still want to be able to I don't dislike George Washington.
The kind of friends I think all friends should be like my friends. My friends are the kind of friends I think everyone needs. My friends see the things at times I don't see. My friends hate the police.
What has changed?
Are deemed the criminals, and the blacks are deemed the criminals.
Shut up and help.
Reflection ain't nothing but the inner child trying to see you. You gonna look? You gonna pick up that book?
Lord, keep me far from the faith. Guide me through night and day. Teach me your ways. Show me the righteous way to sway. Lord, can you teach me, please? Show me the way, I'd say.
Grand Risings, and welcome back to another episode of the Urban Conservative with Chaz Neal. We're excited to have you join us on this journey of thoughtful discourse and community engagement. The Urban Conservative is proudly sponsored by the Leon Block Network, an organization committed to promoting transparency, truth, and accountability in our media landscape. Here at the Urban Conservative, our mission remains steadfast: to bring you the latest news directly from the streets, addressing critical topics such as gun violence, crime, politics, and perhaps most importantly, exploring solutions to the profound challenges our communities face. As we embark on this third season, the focus is clear. It's time to actively contribute to the transformation of our communities for the better. How can we achieve this? The answer lies in a multifaceted approach that starts with reconnecting with our core family values. Strengthening our sense of community is paramount, fostering bonds that transcend the barriers that often divide us. Moreover, it involves embracing our foundational roots, recognizing the historical and cultural threads that weave through the fabric of our society. In this season, we're calling for more than words. We seek action. It's a plea to move beyond mere rhetoric and engage and tangible, impactful initiatives that contribute to positive change. The time for empty words has passed. Now more than ever, we need to put our convictions into action. Together, united by a common purpose, we can make a substantial and lasting difference in the well-being of our communities. So join us on this journey as we explore not only the challenges, but also the opportunities for growth and progress. Together, let's turn our shared vision for stronger, safer, and more connected communities into a reality. Thank you for being a part of the Urban Conservative with Chaz Neal, a platform dedicated to fostering change and making a positive impact on the world around us. Shut up and help. Good morning, 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 good morning. I want to talk about from struggle to strength, a journey through Black American history. Um, and I want to spotlight something that I don't think a lot of people know about or have even had to, maybe have never heard the story, heard the name. But I wanted to take this opportunity because as we're, it is a political year. It's an important year. And there's a lot of important things that are going on, but I think a lot of people are living a fantasy world, right? Living a fairy tale. And that's what I really want to get into because there's so much going on, and I don't think we honestly see everything. We only see what we want to see. And that's part of the problem. And that's what I want to talk about because we literally have elected officials that have screwed over our people, and yet we get them in the office, right? We boost them up, and it really makes me wonder, like, why? Because it's not only just politicians, because it's also community leaders, it's activists. You know what I'm saying? And I'm going to talk about a lot today, but I really want to really get into a podcast that happened last night. A lot of people might know who he is. I'm talking about Reverend Tim Christopher. He had on Miss Nikki last night, and powerful is all I can say, man. And it's crazy when we're literally talking about, stories and education and, how to better our communities, and people really don't pay attention because last night he had viewers, but it's crazy when he's talking about other things that are going on in our community, but does it in a certain way, that other people might disagree with or agree with, and I'm talking about like drama field things, people pay attention, right? But when it's talking about things that goes against their values, or not, I'm not even gonna say their values, goes against their political affiliations, right? They start to void out, right? And not pay attention. And that's what we come into because once somebody doesn't see things the way that we see it, they tune out. And that's okay. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, just because you want to tune out or you can't understand or don't want to believe it, it's happening. And it's crazy how many other people that aren't Black, that are out here fighting for Black lives and fighting for justice and totally get ignored. And that's why I have to give it up to Reverend Tim Christopher, man, because he puts so many different people, so many different voices, a platform, and doesn't silence them, lets them get out their story. And that's what I wanted to spotlight today and, talk about. Really, I'm not going to talk about it. I'm going to let them talk about it. But this is right here is Miss Nikki Holiday, and that is, Mr. Reverend Tim Christopher, Mr. Irrelevant, but he's not really irrelevant. But I'm not going to play the whole. I'm only going to play probably 25 to 30 minutes, and I'm going to go through different parts because it's explosive. It is something that really needs to be heard. And I'm going to be quiet, and I'm going to let Nikki and Rev talk, and I'm going to really listen to the story of Philip Vance that Nikki is going to talk about because it is something that needs to be heard because Philip Vance is not the only story in Minnesota. That's not the only injustice. And we have to realize that when we come and unite, because we've done it before. We've got Mom Burrell, you know what I'm saying? Marvin Haynes, but there's so many countless others that are sitting behind bars wrongfully. And instead of fighting for them, we're literally going on social media apps and debating about foundational Black Americans, or we're talking about Diddy, or, you know, shit that doesn't even matter, right? All because we're programmed to. But when it's shit that really, that we can make a difference to, we look the other way. And we need to stop doing that.
Down to business, right? It's the same. We, for instance, the Myron Burrell get up, just how you had that so laid out that anybody could have came in and saw, oh my God, this kid, he's innocent, right? No ifs, no ands, no buts about that. That's what I saw. And even when we went up to the big guy's chair, sat in the big guy's chair, and he kind of, you know, went off on you a little bit, and we had to bring him down to earth for a second, you still held your composure. And I thought that was unbelievably cool. So that's why, as we say in the community, that's why I hang out with you. That's why I talk to you. We even though you're down there in Florida, we still keep in touch.
Yep.
While you're doing things here in Minnesota. But I wanted to bring you on because you know more than I do about Philip's case. And Philip is another young man who is incarcerated. And at this point, a lot of people believe that he is like Myron Burrell. He is like Melvin Hayes, and he is innocent. And he went in also as a young kid, correct?
Right. Well, you want me to jump in?
Yeah, go ahead. And
yeah. So Mayan, I think his started when he was 16. Same with Marvin Haynes. But they were here in Minnesota. They're from Minnesota.
Uh-oh. She froze up a little bit there. She's probably going to drop here and then come back. I hope she do. I hope we can get this here worked out, because I really want you guys to hear about. Here we go.
Okay. I was like, I don't know if it's on my side or my Wi-Fi is good, but I'm at a hotel, so I don't know. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, perfect. So Philip Vance is a Florida native. So he's born in Daytona, grew up in Florida, St. Pete, Tampa area. He came to Minnesota and I think he was around the age of 20. So he missed that teenage cutoff when they were snatching up all the young Black boys in Minnesota, but he didn't escape the net, so to speak, of Amy Klobuchar, Kathy Keena, Mike Freeman, all them. So he came here. He was 23 when he was ultimately wrongfully convicted. You want me to keep going?
Yeah, no. Go ahead, and you can keep.
Okay, break down
like
story.
I said,
okay.
I got you here to tell the story.
Okay. He so Philip is, yes, he's an amazing man. He's a Black man incarcerated. He was in Stillwater, Minnesota for 20 years. They recently moved him to Rush City. So what happened to Philip in 2004? He was prosecutor Kathy Keena. Now he's an artist, he's a son, he's a brother, he's a father, he's a mentor, he's an intellect. So that's a little bit about, he's a real person. That's the main thing I want people to see. He's a real person. He's not just some people like, oh, it's just another one. No, he's a real person, just like the rest of them, and he's innocent. There's proof that he's innocent. And so he was picked up on another case in 2002. He served a few months on that case. It was a weapons charge, and that was kind of bogus too, but he was like, I'll just deal with it and be done. During that time, when he was incarcerated, they were already investigating him for a murder that occurred around the similar timeline, which was interesting. They let him serve that time. He came out 2004. They snatched him back up and indicted him on this murder from Sabrine's store. So that's how the beginning happened. And what it was is there was no ballistics. There's no DNA evidence to tie him to this crime. Now, police found a cigarette at the crime scene, and they admitted in their report that it was cigarette was from another crime scene. So first thing that raised my question is, did you actually find that at this crime scene, or were you trying to plant evidence and you got exposed? So that's something, that stood out to me on his case when I first started reading his case file. Now, if anybody in Minnesota knows the Metro Gang Strike Force, a lot of people know them before they were disbanded in 2009.
Them boys was something. See, and that's another thing that all these people who believe in this, back the blue no matter what, they don't know about these gang task force. They don't realize what these boys did to the community. They have zero clue. If they knew, some of them would not see the police as they do right now, because these boys were horrible. They were horrible.
Yeah.
So
I say they traumatized and devastated the community, life after life, person after person. I'm going to dig in a little bit about them, but not too deep, because I know we got a timeline. But they were Philip was railroaded by this. There's 37 people that were involved in the Metro Gang Strike Force, and a lot of people don't know that, because I'm going to tell you how they hid their names from the public eye on this. But they were investigated by the FBI, found to be abusing power, theft of evidence, assaults. And in the end, after all the research and investigation was done, the organizations that supported the Metro Gang Strike Force had to dish out $3 million to victims for what they had done to them. Like, they were so corrupt, I mean, I can't even, it would take a whole week to go through everything, but just know they were corrupt. And what I really want people to know about them is the way Minnesota works, the way Minnesota is set up is they're like, we'll investigate us. They never let an outside source come in. So how they had set up the Metro Gang Strike Force that investigated Philip Vance, that ended up planting evidence, setting him up, everything, setting up informants in place, setting up witnesses, getting people to lie. I mean, it's crazy. But what they did was the state of Minnesota, they took police from different municipalities, different cities, and they put them on this force. They did not employ them under the Metro Gang Strike Force. Therefore, they had to hold no personnel files for them. This is why they went under the radar in the community, and you cannot find who these officers were unless you know how to find them, So, which I did, but so these officers were able to do what they wanted to do and kind of fly under the radar with this gang strike force, which leads me to the prosecutors that were in place at the time. Amy Klobuchar, Kathy Keena. They were the big prosecutors in these areas, obviously had to work with the Metro Gang Strike Force because they took their information and their reports. How could they not see the corruption? How could they not look at the reports and see the problems and then still turn a blind eye and go and prosecute? That's the big question here. And that's really the big root of this. But did you want to say something?
No. Go ahead.
Okay.
I'm
Yeah.
I'm 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 right with you. I'll say it again for those who just jumping in. Um, these gang strike forces is one of the reasons why the community has always screamed and yelled police brutality.
Yep.
If you really want to know why black folks said police, it's these guys are the very, very reason why people yell police. It's not your normal everyday cop, right?
Nope.
And I've always said that, because right now I've seen, matter of fact, Sunday, I saw 2 arrests by cops that went textbook, perfect, no problem at all. Had it been these here gang force attack, these guys, they like I said, they were some bad guys.
Mhm. Yeah, for sure. So it turned into.
I'm going to stop it here for a second. I got another video that I want to play. And this is about the shout out to the shout out girls. But this is a video, and I want people to see it wasn't just Minneapolis police. This was St. Paul Police Department in Ramsey County. But this was something that was big that happened some years ago, but it's still relevant today.
Two top strike force leaders part of inquiry. The Star Tribune has learned the identities of 16 officers reportedly under investigation. By David Chanin, Randy First, and Paul McEnroe, Star Tribune staff writers. Last update, October 16, 2009, 12:09 a.m. Two top leaders of the now disbanded Metro Gang Strike Force are being investigated by the Minneapolis Police Department for alleged misconduct relating to their work in the unit, according to sources with direct knowledge of the PRO. The department opened internal affairs inquiries of Lieutenant James Heimerl, Sergeant Jeffrey Jindra, and 5 other strike force officers last month, following a report by 2 independent investigators who found evidence of criminal wrongdoing within the unit. Heimerl was second in command of the multi-agency strike force. Altogether, at least 16 of 34 officers who served on the unit in the past 2 years, including 5 members of the St. Paul Police Department and 2 deputies with the Ramsey County Sheriff's Office, have been investigated for alleged misconduct related to their strike force duties. Records show at least 8 of those 16 officers were previously disciplined by their departments, with punishments ranging from reprimands to demotion. The identities of the officers under investigation were obtained by the Star Tribune through interviews with law enforcement sources familiar with the cases. The agencies have not publicly disclosed the names. Former Assistant U.S. Attorney Andy Luger and retired FBI agent John Egelhoff were asked to examine the strike force by State Public Safety Commissioner Michael Campion last May after members were caught shredding documents just hours after the public release of a scathing state audit. The audit showed strike force officers had improperly seized large amounts of property and could not account for at least $18,000 in cash. The unit was immediately suspended. In August, Luger and Egelhoff reported that as many as a dozen strike force officers broke the law while working in the unit. The investigators reported that some of the officers took seized property home for personal use. Heimerl, who allegedly sold seized property to a family member, has given a statement admitting the action, according to a source. Jindra allegedly mishandled cash following a drug raid and violated rules prohibiting racial profiling, the source said. Falsified records, rules broken. Here's a look at 8 of the Minneapolis officers under investigation. Heimerl, who joined the department in 1970, was temporary commander of the strike force for about 3 months. He was later criticized by his successor, Hennepin County Sheriff's Captain Chris Ahmad, for approving airfare payments so strike force members could attend a conference in Hawaii. In 1991, Heimerl was demoted to sergeant for 90 days and suspended for 15 days for attempting to falsify records, according to department files. 5 years later, he was reprimanded for violating the department's professional code of conduct. His file also includes 4 special commendations and a certificate of merit. Jindra, who transferred to the strike force in 2005, was investigated by federal authorities 6 years ago for allegedly sexually assaulting a drug dealer with a toilet plunger. No criminal charges were filed. No reprimands or formal commendations appear in his file. Sergeant Kelly O'Rourke, who was suspended for a day in 2005 for violating rules regarding inventory of property and evidence, joined the department in 1998. He also received a reprimand in 2002 for unspecified reasons. O'Rourke, who joined the strike force 4 years ago, recently filed a whistleblower lawsuit against the city of Minneapolis, claiming he was removed from the unit after complaining about the unprofessional handling of evidence and illegal activity within the unit. There are no formal commendations in his file, but O'Rourke's attorney said in a news release that the officer received an award of merit, a Medal of Commendation, and a Medal of Valor. Francisco Porras, who was cited for violating the department's code of conduct in 2006, became a police officer in
I want to stop it for a second, and I want to show something, because there was a name that was brought up, and like, you know how we say that the apple doesn't fall from the tree, right? It doesn't fall very far at all, right? So boom. So you see right here, this is Jeffrey Dendro, who we just heard about. This is his son, right? Who was a Minneapolis police officer as well, gets 3 years for stealing drugs during illegal searches. So it's crazy as hell to me. And it's not even, this ain't even the only case of where their fathers have investigated their crimes. You know what I'm saying? And it's, we as voters, as constituents, we don't even call this shit out. And it's crazy because we have so many, and I talk about this often, you know, it's crazy because we were just talking about Lugar not too long ago with what's going on in today's times. And to literally hear this man's name continually being brought up. And then now I see why we don't get no change in Minneapolis. I see why we don't get no change in Minnesota, for the simple fact that we got criminals at the helm. Our leaders are criminals. Like, literally, I think about the nonprofit leaders, right? Are the Black church leaders, right? Lisa Clemens from A Mother's Love was kicked off the crack team for giving out information, right? This is what I don't understand. You have a pastor, Brian Herron, who took bribes. Or you have Sabari, who gives a lot of money to city council members, right? Or you have these gang leaders that want to be so-called nonprofit executives, right? They give money to these campaigns, and people don't even see it. It's like, this shit is like a web, and that's why I've always said it to be this shit for what it really is, man, is that it's a scheme. It's a pyramid. Because even when it comes to the Diddy shit, that's just somebody in the pyramid. We're not getting somebody at the top. We're not getting somebody at the top.
In 1994 and was transferred to the strike force in 2005. He twice received a merit award.
David Garman, who spent less than a year with the strike force, was fired in September for not being truthful about confiscating cell phones during a drug seizure, according to sources. Garman received a Medal of Honor in 2008 and a life-saving award in 2009. Previously, he had not been reprimanded. Lucas Peterson has already served a 40-hour suspension for a procedural violation relating to his execution of a strike force search warrant, according to sources.
No, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that, but y'all see what she's talking about.
stand, perjury. I mean, it's ridiculous. And they threatened some of them. What they would do is they would find people that ever had any interaction with Philip Vance and try to use their situation like, oh, you got a case against you. Well, we can make that go away, or we can make it less if you do this and you say this. We have not connected the dots why it was so personal for Philip, for them to come after Philip. We have not connected that dot, and I think we may never. So they found these jailhouse informants that he was with in the beginning on his first situation that he took, and he felt, I'll go ahead and do it, even though he didn't really agree with the the situation, but he understood that situation. And so they took jailhouse informants from that situation. Now, if you've ever talked to Philip, he's not going to sit there and talk big about a crime, especially a crime he didn't commit. He's just not that type of person. And so these jailhouse go ahead.
No, but that's what cracks me up when I hear people talk about jailhouse informants, right? I've been in the prisons. I've talked to guys in the prisons, and I've yet to ever run into a jailhouse informant, or I've yet to ever run into some dude that's sitting in prison talking about a case and sitting there going, yeah, I did it. It was me. Right. This is what I did. Let me show you exactly how I did it. Matter of fact, I know the time and the date exact that I was there at 12/22. I've yet to ever run into a guy like that when I'm in these jails or in these prisons talking to these guys. So how are they always coming up with a jailhouse informant? It blows my mind when you know what I mean? When they come out with that one. Well, we got a jailhouse informant. Oh, really? Come on.
Of course you do.
Of course, yeah, right. Of course you do. Because I've never heard one.
But then the crazy part of it is it don't even just be jailhouse informants, right? They keep these people confidential. And that be the sickest part of it all to me, because it's even when it comes to, I know the feds work a little bit different, but even with the state, man, it's like we literally will read people's paperwork and see that they're using CI number, blah, 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 CI number, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, wait, hold on. And it's like, well, I was only talking to this person or that person. But see, I hooked on to the game. And I really want to thank a detective for pointing this out to me, because every confidential informant has a number, right? And then police departments pay, right? So what that informant number is what they get paid for, right? So then you just got to look up the 1099, because police departments have to leave a record. And that's why one thing that I'm thankful for is it might do some digging and some, wondering, blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, 2 + 2 = 4. And if people can't literally prove that you didn't, like, that's the whole crazy thing for me, is we have so many people that are in our community who literally get paid and be lying. And there's so many brothers and sisters that are wrongfully convicted, not just in Minneapolis, but I'm talking about Chicago, Detroit, every fucking city in America, every state. There has been some wrongfully type of execution, some type of wrongfully conviction. And it's insane to me. It's insane to me. And yet people don't even, and the people don't even call it out, because we would prefer to look the other way. And that's what's sick to me. And we out here talking about voting about immigration. How about, can we vote to get our brothers and sisters out of prison who are wrongfully convicted? Can we talk about some real shit? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what I don't understand. Niggas out here talking about immigration. We ain't going to be able to stop it. And that's what I'm going to talk about, something else too, before at the end of this, because right. But let me get it, because before I get way off track.
I've never heard one.
Yep. And another thing about it is, one of the jailhouse informants And I say that because it sounds so funny to me. Because if you're in the prison and you know these guys, it's a brotherhood.
Right.
You know, it's not like they're just in there talking about their stories and running to the, you know.
That's the whole thing that I'm talking about. I've never ever been or somebody come up to me and say, "Hey, Rev, check this out. That dude said that he murdered somebody.
Right.
Can you get me in touch with somebody so I can tell his story?" I've never, but for somehow, some way,
yeah.
When it's time to go to court, there's like 90 jailhouse, informants standing there waiting to tell somebody else's story. It cracks me up.
Yeah.
Cracks me
so
up.
there are some in these situations. They did go to authorities, or they were interviewed, or they were. I feel like they were planted for a reason. And then once they were planted, once they had enough exposure to Philip Vance, even though he wasn't talking about anything because he didn't do anything, once they had enough exposure, then the Metro Gang Strike Force and the investigators, then they swooped into these jailhouse informants, and they was like, "You want some time off?" I'm just, and I'm just summarizing what I vision how this thing goes, but I wasn't there. But you want some time off your case, or we can help you out, or whatever. So then they would offer them something, and I'm going to get down to like some of the proof on how that is. But one of the jailhouse informants, the news story was released. There was a news story released here in Minnesota, and then it was also on the news. This one jailhouse informant repeated what was said either in the news story or on the news. And they took that. They took that like, oh, okay. They took that. It's crazy because him and Philip almost crossed paths in the last month. And they were quick. The DOC was quick to make sure they moved one from one jail and Philip to the other, so they wouldn't cross paths. Because since then, these jailhouse informants have recanted and said that they were coerced, that they were threatened, that they were bribed. And it even came down to Kathy Keena, the Dakota County prosecutor on the case. She started out her testimony, or her in court, she started out addressing the jury, talking about crying and talking about I think, am I freezing, Tim? Am I good?
You're good now.
Okay. But Kathy Keena started out, she's talking about, crying and talking about the case. And first of all, number one, that's prosecutorial misconduct. You're not supposed to show an emotion to sway a jury. Right then, the judge should have shut that down. So that's, one big, huge issue. And then as she did her closing statements, she admitted that she bribed and paid rent for one of the informants, and the judge still didn't shut it down. Here's the interesting thing about the judge, one of the witnesses, and one of the officers on the case. Last name, all McManus, all related. Is that not interesting?
Hey, like I said, the system, no. Right. I like I said, I don't blame the people.
Yeah.
I blame the system. Yeah. The people are working under the system that gives them the right to be just as corrupt as anyone else. It's the system. That's what's got to change. Somehow, some way, the system has to change. But as long as the system stays, well, maybe it will change now because, we'll get into her in a second. But
yeah. But yeah, I mean, I hear what you're saying, but you also have to think about it, that there's people out here. There's a lot of people out here like me, like you, that, we want to stand up and we want to point this out. We want to bring exposure to it. And that's how we start to tear down those walls a little bit and get those people that are up under the system that think that, they're doing something. And maybe they start thinking about like, oh, maybe I'm on the wrong side of justice. Yeah, you definitely are. If you're working for the system, you're on the wrong side of justice. That's just, and a lot of people have asked me like, well, why don't you do something with these offices or work with them? Back years ago, the BCA offered me we were talking, I was talking to Drew Evans about being a community liaison. And I told him I would never be a community liaison for your office. And he said, why? I said, not because not because I couldn't do it, but because then I got to work under your policies and procedures. I prefer to just be an independent person, have my regular job over here, be with my family, and then I can say what I want to do, move how I want to move, and talk about who I want to talk about in the system, because it needs to be exposed, and that's the thing about these people that helped on this case. I've always said, like, everybody has a price. I really wonder what the price was for this case. I really wonder how much money went into paying people's bills, paying people off, paying people to shut up, and now it's crumbling, and it's really, it's really going to come down to it. We're looking at 21 years for an innocent man sitting in prison on April 4th, 2024. It'll be 21 years. 21 years. How do you even wrap your mind around that, Rev?
Right.
Like 21 years you're sitting there, and he's done it. I got to tell you, though, he's done it like a champ. Not that he should have, but he did. Not only did he better himself as a person, not that he was a bad person, but you just think about it. You got nothing but time, and he learned the legal system. He reads books. I mean, he has written curriculum for some of the classes in there. He's taught curriculum for some of the classes. He's mentored some of the people that have passed through there. Marvin Haynes knows him. Mayan Burrell knows him. I mean, everybody's passed through and knows Philip Vance, and they've heard him talk, and they know he's the real deal. And he'll tell you, this is the crazy thing in talking to him, because I'd be like, man, I'm really sorry what the world had did to you. And he's like, I appreciate that, but at the end of the day, there's a greater purpose here. And like, you hear somebody sitting behind those walls for 21 years and he has a positive outlook, like that's a big deal. Like, that lets you know he's real.
Right.
He did want me to say a couple things. He did want me to, I need to mention the CRU, but I need to scroll up on my notes real quick, because he wanted me to say something about the jury. So when he got to interview the jury, this is another thing. Like, I don't know if it's so hard to get a list of the jurors, but there was only one black man, and he was like in his 40s or 50s. And the thing about what Philip asked every juror was, do you think that the police will lie? He asked every juror that. Every juror said that they believed that the police were there to tell the truth and bring justice to the community. That beyond a shadow of a doubt, they knew that the police were going to bring the facts. He knew then. Every juror they put in motion didn't believe that Philip, when he said that the police could lie. Every single juror did not believe him. They said, no, we fully believe that the police are here to do their job, and they do a great job, and they wouldn't lie. And he knew then that was it. It was a wrap. There was nothing he could do. So,
there's our problem.
Yeah.
And that's always been our problem, because the police looks at the community, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the community they look at isn't our community. Because we know the police lie. We know the police do things that's not right.
Yeah.
Now, the good part about now is you can go on YouTube and pull up police brutality, police misconduct, and you can get video after video after video of police doing wrong. But here is the thing. Those very people that you just said, that Philip said, believe that the police is always honest, will look at those very abuse videos by the police and say that the police had a right to do what they said they did. Yeah. And that's what the problem is. You have people in this here, in the community, in your state, that gives the police the okay to do that. It's just like those 6 police officers that beat up the two black guys, and they're finally being prosecuted.
Yeah.
And one of them now got 20 years or something like that.
Yeah.
But those 6, if you read some of the comments that was attached to that case, there are people who still believe that those 6 officers who did some gruesome stuff to 2 men, those officers were okay in doing what they did. They literally said that, and they believed that in their heart.
Yeah.
That's what the problem is. We got a corrupt system that people believe in that system and give these people the okay to do things that are just not right.
Yeah.
They're just not right.
I mean, yeah, you say something to anybody. I mean, I worked with Valerie Castile after Philando was killed.
Oh,
and,
don't get me started on that.
Yeah, right. We made some changes to the DMV manual regarding, being able to carry while you're in your vehicle. But the thing about that is when I tell anybody about these cases I work on that doesn't know about the work, a lot of times the first thing they say is, what did they do? I'll be like, what do you mean? What did they do? It doesn't matter. You should walk away with your life and be able to go, or whatever, or you should be able to plead your story. And another thing, like Philip had ineffective counsel. His attorney at the time didn't really speak up for him. He's multiple times pro se. He's filed for post-conviction relief. He's filed for habeas corpus. He's filed and said he had ineffective counsel at every opportunity. Kathy Keena has blocked it. The judge blocked it. Not even giving him a hearing, not even allow him to present, but saying that now, once those witnesses recanted their story and said they were forced and they were told to lie, then you know what the court said? Well, we can't take their testimony now because they're not credible. But wait, but you were okay with their story when they lied. But now that they're telling you that they were forced to do this by an organization that's been disbanded, that's the thing. It's been disbanded.
Right.
Every case that they investigated should have been put right back into court, should have been reinvestigated. Somebody should have taken some time. They should have created a task force to look at all those cases that they touched.
Right.
And that's why I don't understand where Minnesota lacks on that.
Right.
Why did those people not get that benefit? If this organization was deemed so corrupt by the FBI, told Minnesota to shut it down, why did those cases not get a second look? Why are they having to fight? Why are they having to come up with $50,000 for an attorney?
Right.
It doesn't make any sense how it's set up. It really doesn't.
Well, I'm shocked. Now, what was her name again? I'm sorry.
The prosecutor?
Yeah.
Kathy Keena.
So I'm shocked Kathy Keena didn't run for higher office after using a black man to get herself off.
She's moved up.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's what I thought.
She hasn't moved up as high as Amy did, as quickly as Amy did. But you think about Dakota County, it's a little softer than Minnesota or Minneapolis.
That's right.
and St. Paul. So she got to be, she doesn't have a lot of pool to work with to try to pin stuff on him. You know what I'm talking about.
Well, yeah, and Myron, that Burrell case was a big case. I mean, that got black clergy involved in it. So that was huge. So that was an awesome springboard for Amy Klobuchar to put her name on there to get to where she's at today. She's only reason Amy Klobuchar is where she's at today is because of Myron Burrell. Yeah. That is the only reason that woman is anywhere, because she found a way to hang tie a black kid. And Lord the mercy knows that if you white and you can get something like that, oh boy, you sky's the limit.
Yeah. Man, and I have interview after interview with her using his name. Man, she stopped using his name. She sure stopped using his name.
She stopped using it now. Yeah, she did.
Yep.
Yeah, she did.
Because she knew she better. But that's another thing with Kathy Kena. She's not, I imagine if she ran for higher office, she would use this. Kathy Kena has been involved in prosecuting over 6,500 cases in Dakota County. How many of those cases? Listen, I sat on a meeting with her in Zoom, and it was funny because I rattled her so much, she has me blocked on Facebook. I rattled her so much that she has me blocked, and I spoke to her sister-in-law. It's just interesting. I just that's what I do. And so with her, with Kathy's situation, she was in a Zoom. We were discussing the aid and abetting charges. This is recent. This is in the House right now. And she said, she admitted in 2013 she made a mistake on a case. And it was an aid and abetting. It was a murder. Black man murdered somebody, well, allegedly murdered somebody, and had a witness with him. And later on that night, allegedly murdered the witness. The family of this said witness that he allegedly murdered said they did not want him prosecuted because they did not want their family member exposed for her activity. I don't know specifically what the activity was, but involved streets, drugs, whatever.
Sure.
So they did not want this person prosecuted. And Kathy Kena, so she low prosecuted this guy, or didn't really bring it. And so she's saying now in a Zoom meeting, I made a mistake in 2013 on this case. I should have pinned murder on him instead of manslaughter or something. And I said to myself, I'm typing in the chat, I would like to speak. And they asked Kathy, and she was like, because she knew what I was about to say. Because if you made a mistake in 2013, after you've had all this experience now, how come you can't admit you made a mistake in 2004 when you were fairly new in your situation, in your position?
Right.
And that's the thing is, if she would just say, I made a mistake, I'm willing to put this before a judge. Let's take a look. But she's not. And so she's hiding behind the CRU. And that brings me to that point about the CRU. She's hiding behind the CRU. And I have some footage from her that we're holding right now. But she's saying, I'm cooperating with the CRU, whatever they want. First of all, the CRU, I don't know if you know, but it's handled by Keith Ellison. I'm not going to try to throw names out, but it's handled by Keith Ellison. And the top person that investigates what cases they're going to look at and review is a retired police officer. I mean, you got a case that is saying we got a group of disbanded cops, or a force that was disbanded with corrupt cops, and you're going to have a cop look at it and say, oh yeah, let's go ahead and take it back to court and get this guy out. He's not going to do that.
No.
So it's crazy. They've sat on his case since 2022. The one good thing I know they did do is they filed a post-conviction relief, which allowed his everything to stay, which allowed the affidavits and everything to hold. And that's the only thing that they've done at this point. I've been told, communicating with them several times, what is the holdup? I don't see any cases moving. You were promised this and that. You were promising the community this and that. They're saying they have been unable to give the attention to these cases due to funding issues and new hires. 2 years, But now that he's out of solitary, and we can talk about the solitary too, but now that he's out of solitary and he's looking to get a private attorney, now they're ready to do their report. Why didn't you do it 2 years ago? It's
because
crazy.
they just can't. My thought on this whole thing is, because Liz Collins with Alpha News is really good at doing jailhouse confessions. I was gonna shoot a tweet at Liz Collins and say, hey Liz, if you want to look into corruption, because that's what she did. you know, with the guy with George Floyd. You know, she had a jailhouse confession from him. I would like for Liz Collins to go.
So I want to just stop it there for a second, for a little bit, actually, because I'm only going to go about another 20 minutes. But I literally, and I sit there and I think, how are we supposed to get change, right? When literally Keith Ellison, I've talked about it before, Timothy Magruder, you know what I'm saying? And then you have an ex-police officer, and a police officer isn't going to want to do the right thing. You would think they would want to, right? But they're not. So it's like, how can we trust these people? Because on paper, the conviction review unit looks very good, but you can see that when it's not implemented right, or it doesn't do what it's supposed to do. And yet our community members suffer. They suffer. And then this is the one thing that I want people to understand, because your vote does matter. We need to get these people out of office so that we can have people that are going to stand on business, instead of Minnesota having a fucking hashtag free the nipple. Like, that's crazy as hell to me. Like, wow, like, free the nipple. But what about our brothers and sisters that are wrongfully convicted? Because there's Timothy Magruder, there's Philip Vance, there is Cornelius Jackson, there's Bobo. Who else? So shit, there's so many. Are they been overly sentenced, wrongfully sentenced? And that's what I don't get, because they do all these things that they say is supposed to help the community, but it never does. We just be running around in circles with our head cut off, man, like fucking chickens. And I don't get that. No, I don't have, you know what's crazy is, I have, yep, right there. I have no problems with Mary, man. You know, I just wish, and I understand she's just a county attorney, right? She's just a Hennepin County attorney that I believe is doing the right things, right? And I don't agree with everything that she does, especially when it comes to the juvenile shit, right? But obviously there's a she's inside of a system that she has to work inside of. And yes, I do agree with you, Robert. She does explain it constitutionally. And I understand it to that degree. Is it right or wrong? The way that the system is set up, I believe it's the wrong route, because our system is just not designed here in Minnesota for the way that she wants to envision Hennepin County. And I see her vision, but a lot of the players involved in that are corrupt. And that's where, for me, is I don't know where to believe Mary sits when it comes to justice and accountability, because she'll say one thing about one situation, but then another situation, her actions are totally different than what her words have said. And that's just me. Not everybody may feel that way. Not everybody may see it that way. But again, that's just how people may see it. But I'm going to play about another 10 minutes of Rev. Now
that I'm on the roll about Mary.
Oh, wait, real quick. Can I finish? Or are we going to tie up Philip at the end?
Yeah, we're going to tie Philip up. We're going to tie Philip into. Well, Philip has a lot to do with this, because the only thing I'm talking about is the system. The same system that railroaded Philip is the same system that Mary came in to say, I'm going to clean it up. I'm going to do something different. I'm going to make a difference in this system, whether you like it or not. And now that she's doing that, and this is what I've always said, Nicole, if people had to listen to what Mary was saying during the time she was out campaigning, they would have known who they was dealing with from day one. They wasn't. I listened to her. I went to 3 of her campaign stops. Not only that, but she came up to Cub Foods to the community center on a couple occasions, and I made sure I was there. I wanted to hear what this woman had to say because I listened to these candidates. Mm-hmm. What she's doing is exactly what she said on the trail. Exactly.
But you know what happened? She did that, and they believe that. Am I moving okay? Am I frozen?
Not yet.
Okay. What happened is all these other politicians believed that she was doing what they do, lying to the community to get the votes. No,
exactly.
She was saying what she was about to do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what you just said. I told them over and over. No, Mary. If every politician did what Mary did, we would be better off because I can decide if I want to deal with you or not. Yeah. But she didn't come in and lie. Mary said, I'm going after the corruption. I'm going to go and get it, and I'm going to clean it up. That's what Mary said.
And Maya Burrell gets out, and she offers him a spot on her campaign. You know what I'm saying? She been about the business. So when I saw that a couple of politicians here in Minnesota wrote to Governor Walz,
cowards, low down, dirty, lying, low down, just flat out. That's why I told what's her name? Angie Craig. And that coward. Angie Craig I hope now you know what? The dude Joe who's running against her, even though Joe pissed me off and he decided to run off at the mouth, right? The dude Joe who's running against her, he decided to run off I told Joe, sit down and shut up. You ain't got nothing to do with it. This ain't your business. I tweeted at him. Oh no, sit and shut your mouth. You ain't got nothing to do with Mary. Nothing. Yeah. So hush your mouth. Nothing to do with Hennepin County. Hennepin County don't even know you and really don't care about you. So Mary isn't your problem. And then Angie Craig, she comes out and she wants to try to stick a dagger into Mary. No, y'all, I just told her, leave her alone. Leave her alone. She's the only politician that told the truth.
And that's what I said. That's the only olive branch Minnesota has gotten in that office. That's all. She's the only one. And she's doing what she said she was going to do. But to have them writing to Governor Walz, to me, it sounded like a couple of kids running to their dad. Like, oh, make her resign. I'm like, we finally got somebody for us.
Yeah, that's the crazy part. So I know a lot of people don't know about what's going on, and like with the Ryan Lundgren case and how you've had the Minnesota Police Officers Union Association come out and ask Walz to take the case from Mary. I've seen other politicians come out and say things, and it's for me, it's like let the judicial system do what it does, man. And it's like let politics stay out of it, and that's where it comes to be the problem. Because if we're going to make every police case, when they kill somebody, be political, then let's make all these other cases be political as well, because we have people that are literally locked up who are innocent. And it's not just Minnesota, because I've interviewed Robert Davis out of Akron, Ohio, and we've heard his story. And how they literally, people have recanted, and that's what's crazy. The lie is always believed over the truth. And how can it be? Like, how is it supposed to be that the truth will set you free, but the court system won't allow? The court system won't allow it for us to be free. Like, come on. We have to change that. If not, like, that's what's crazy, because our Supreme Court literally said that innocence is not enough to overturn a conviction. I'm going to say that again. The Supreme Court said innocence is not enough to overturn a conviction. How the fuck? That's crazy. But I want to play, so I'm going to end today talking about something that I feel like people need to be educated on. And it's sad that we even have to talk about this or even discuss it, but it needs to be talked about. And what I'm about to play is your president, Joe Biden. Entire screen. Window, right? That's the entire screen. So, I don't know. Can y'all see this? No, you can't, can you? Let me see something. Trying to get this to play. Window, screen. Why isn't that not coming up? That's crazy. Why am I not? No. So why is this not coming up? Let's see. No, I don't want full screen because I can't see. Man, I don't know. Damn, I wanted to play this video. And I ain't gonna be able to because it's on TikTok. Let me see if I can pull it up on TikTok real quick. But this video is basically about the Equality Act, which is a bill that is in no, that's not one. And I don't even know if I'm gonna find it now. Because I don't even remember. I just downloaded it. It's crazy as hell. Let me see TikTok. What the journey? But basically, no, I don't know. Never mind it. I guess I'll do it another time. I don't want to get all in a rampant, anyways. But I just really wanted to put it out there about what's going on in America and what are we standing for? What are we fighting for? Because are we literally making change? Are we seeing the vision that we want for our communities? Is the society that we want to live in going the way that we want it to go? When you wake up in the morning and you walk out of your house, is that the society that you want to live in? Is that the society that you want to call your own? Is that the society that you want to That's just what I think about. It's what do we stand for? You know what I'm saying? And I guess people stand for different shit. People stand for different things. And is that something that we will ever get over? Is it something that will ever change? I don't think so. Trying to look for something. Oh man, okay, yeah. Oh yeah, this is what I definitely need to talk about this, man, because these people weird as hell. So this is a little video from um, Green, Kentucky. High Street. So, let me. This is for protests for Kyle Rittenhouse event on campus last night, right? But this is the same community that did nothing for Breonna Taylor. Never forget that. This is all for clout. Literally, why are they? He's at a college speaking, right? That's what's crazy to me is like I just don't understand it. I don't understand it. It's like, but we won't even come out and stand for real shit anymore. So I hope everybody has a great Thursday. Come back tomorrow, same time, same place. Leon Black Network. If you're watching on Twitter, watching on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, Rumble. I just want people to pay attention to what the hell's going on. Because there's a lot going on. I know that sometimes we can have short attention spans and that we can literally get caught in emotions and be a little emotional, I guess that's what we'll call it. But we got to focus on the goal that's at hand, man, the vision, because I'm not ready to let my ancestors down. I'm not ready to let up on this fight. I'm not ready to let go. Don't you think that our kids deserve it? Because we've seen, and that's what's crazy, because I'm seeing a resurgence of activism from the vote or die campaigns to the rallying cries again of I can't breathe. And then we think about the deaths of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, countless others have ignited the flame of resistance. And are we trying to spark a global movement again for racial justice? But yet, as we even march forward, we face new challenges and setbacks. The recent political landscape has seen a rise in divisive rhetoric and efforts to suppress Black voter turnout. The Turn America Red movement seeks to undermine our hand-won gains and roll back the progress we fought so hard to achieve. But despite these obstacles, the spirit of resilience burns bright within us. We need to draw strength from our ancestors' sacrifices and stand united in our quest for liberation, because the struggle will continue. But so does our determination to overcome. And together we will write the next chapter of our history, one of empowerment, equality, and justice for all. Our journey is far from over. But with that courage and perseverance, we will continue to march forward towards a future where every Black life truly matters. And I'm not just talking about where every Black life matters because of its a hashtag. It's going to matter because we show that it matters through education, through self-resilience, through turning Black victims into Black victors, from turning Black queens, our Black princesses, into queens, from turning little boys into kings, from turning boys to men. And when we see something wrong, we say something. Don't just look the other way. That's not where we need to go in society. Come on now, and let's stop blame. Let's stop victim blaming. Let's stop pointing the finger and let's start taking accountability. Let's start looking in the mirror and taking accountability, right? That starts with us, with that man in the mirror, that woman in the mirror. That's where it starts. Because how can you hold somebody else accountable if you can't hold yourself accountable? And I really want people to really dig deep in and think about that, right? Because, and I'm going to leave off on this, because I literally woke up this morning and I seen Tariq weird ass had a space going. And so I started listening a little bit. And I heard, I don't know, something come up about Sir Major weird ass. And it's like, how do we get behind leaders and people that literally won't call out bad actors in our community? They choose to look the other way because of the person's following or because of the person's platform or what that platform brings. Like, does that matter more than actual change? Because to me, that literally shows me what you care about, and that like Miss Nikki said, everybody has a price. Everybody's got a price. And I see that all the time, that everybody's got a price, right? Because these nonprofits do, these churches do. You think they got nice houses for no reason? Are buying new cars? Are able to wear never broke again shirts again? Think about it. Because if it don't make sense, it don't make dollars. So, win or fail, freedom or jail, heaven or hell, wish me well. Y'all have a great one. Urban Conservative.